Hello everyone. My name is Nile, and welcome to this webinar by 100ms, where we are going to learn how to build a FaceTime clone for iOS using the 100ms SDK. And for this webinar, we have brought it to awesome guys. One, Jared. So Jared is the founder of Archetype and an iOS developer. And we have Mayank, who is the founder of Swift Anytime and also an iOS developer. With more than 5 years of experience in ads development, we have it was really hard to catch them and bring them on this webinar. So let's make sure that you are getting the best of it. If you have any questions, just put it on the chat. I'll also put the Discord community link. Just put your QAs there and we will be addressing all of those at the end of the session. Best of luck, Jared. Best of luck, Mayank.
Hey, thank you so much, Nilay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, guys. So to start with, as Nilay said, that we are here today to give you a demo about something which is really amazing about some things in this SDK called 100ms, and also we have this example to elaborate that as well. So in this session today, we would be seeing that we would be making a FaceTime clone using the 100ms SDK in iOS. And in that, we would be using Swift UI as our main framework in place of UIKit. So you might be thinking why we are using Swift UI and not UIKit. So I think, Jared, if you can answer that for the audience.
Sure. So essentially, UIKit is still, a good technology. I believe a lot of people will still use it. But in our case, I think Swift UI is a fast way to basically iterate anything that you can dream of. That's why I personally really like Swift UI. It essentially, if you have an idea, you can make it within a day or two, honestly, most UI ideas. And then you can focus on functionality and everything after that. And so that's why we'll be focusing on Swift UI today, but at the same time, any of the concepts that we talk about can definitely apply to UIKit.
Definitely. And the one thing that that Jared just mentioned here, that it takes less amount of time in comparison to the UIKit things that we do. So I think this is also the USP, not just about Swift UI, but also about the 100ms. So the concept remains the same. The idea remains the same. With Swift UI, you can have a more declarative coding pattern, not just coding pattern, coding style, and the way you implement things take a lot less amount of time in comparison to UIKit. And the same case happens with 100ms. If you compare it with any other SDK, the USP of 100ms, you can say loud and clear, that for other SDKs, it might take maybe hours, days, maybe a month. But with 100ms, you can just implement it right away in few minutes. And we can also show you that how it works. So for that, let me share my screen and show you guys what we will be building today. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to you all. And the one thing that we will be building today, let me give you a demo of that first, then we will start building that. Okay, so to start with, we have this project called, you can name it whatever you want to. We have named it for now like mock project. So you can see that we have this very first screen in this project, which is more of like the contact listing that you have in a FaceTime application, right? So the very first screen when you open in your FaceTime application is your contact screen, where you can start making calls, or maybe you can start making the conversations, right? So in that reference, we have made this number one screen. The number two screen would be the screen where you would be able to make a call and would be able to respond to that. Okay, so let's talk about these two screens, which is the highlight of this complete application. And to start with, you can see that in the very first screen here, if you can see this cursor which I'm trying to move here, you would find that we have given a navigation title here. To be precise, we have given 3 cells. Okay, and in these 3 cells, we have included a same image. We have given a title. We have also given a gesture through which we can move on to the next screen. Okay, so let's begin. If I think all are ready, I cannot really see the responses, but if you guys can just respond yes if you guys are ready with the demo. Just comment down below. Okay, I got the very first response. Okay.
Ready.
Everybody is ready. Thank you so much, guys. I can see that. Okay. So let's start with creating a new Xcode project, first of all. Okay. So you can just go to your Xcode and create a new Xcode project. And in this case, I'll be going with the iOS application. I'll be selecting app. I'll be moving on to the next option. Let's name it something. We will name it FaceTime clone. Okay. Now I will not be choosing any kind of code data or something, because this particular application is going to be all about the video streaming thing that we're going to do in FaceTime. So we'll click on next. We'll save it somewhere. Let's.
Yes, the only thing to note is that we are using Swift UI, so that just make sure that the interface is Swift UI. There you go.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that description, Jared. So yes, you need to be aware that we are using Swift UI here. So if you are making a new project, then please select Swift UI beforehand. So now you have the application, like the very initial setup for your application. And now we need to think about what kind of views do we really need in this application, right? So as I just shown you here in this example here in our simulator, you can see that the very first screen has a navigation, has a list, plus that list has certain cells. So we are reusing this cell 3 times in this view, right? So we need to have a cell view, we need to have a complete view like the parent view for this, and maybe you are familiar with coding everything in a single view itself, but it is nice if you can break up your code in several pieces, because it helps you with reusability of the code, as well as it looks nice in terms of readability as well for the other developers, right? So let's create some files first, then start off writing some code inside that. So let's name this content view. I don't really like that content view name. Let's name it contact list. Okay. You can name it whatever you want. It is just that I want to name it like that. So I have named it contact list view, and I'll also change the name here, as well as like, I don't really need the preview, so I can get rid of that. I'll change it here as well. Okay. The next view that I need, like this contact list view, you can treat that as a parent view for this particular view. But the next view that I would be needing inside this parent view would be a cell, right? So that cell would be looking like this, like you can include in that this image, this title, this arrow. Okay. So I'll create a new file, obviously a Swift UI type. So I'll go to new file. I'll create a new Swift UI view, and I'll name it contact cell. So let's create that as well. Now, what else do we need? We need one more view, because once we tap on this particular cell, we have to go to this view where we can actually make a call, right? So let's name it something more relative to what we are building. Let's name it FaceTime view. Okay. So I'll go to again new file, Swift UI view, and I'll name it FaceTime view. Okay, now we have these 3 views basically. You can say this one is the main view. You can see this one as a cell that we will be reusing in this particular view called contact list view. And we also have the second view in this application which we need, like this one, which we are calling here as FaceTime view. Okay. So I hope this font style, this font size is also visible to you guys. If it is, then please just write yes or no in the comments. Okay, Akash is saying yes. Okay, Harsh Verma is also saying yes. Thank you guys for responding. I get to know about if you are getting it or not. Otherwise, maybe I am in this space and you will just, leave out on something else. So you can just comment down here. I can see them, or maybe Jared, you can let me know if there is something that people are obstructed about. Okay. All right.
Sorry. Yeah. I had to step away for a sec.
No worries. So guys, now we have these 3 views, including one cell view. The other thing that we need inside the same view, which we are calling contact list view, is some model using which we can save this, or you can use this data, not save this data. You can use this data in a much organized way. So for that, we would be making a model as well. Let's call that as a user model. Okay. So I will create a new file and I will name it, I'll first of all make it a Swift file, then I will name it user model. Okay, so then I'll create it. Okay, there it is. So guys, you can see we have this model which we will be using so that we can populate some data right here on the very first view. And that model would include the image, the name, and the ID of that certain user. Okay, so now I will be just reusing some code just to save on some time. You can also have this project as a starter project. I can share that link with you if you guys want to try out the same with me. So let me share that link in the comments with you guys as well. So
we have someone saying to organize the file into groups.
Okay, thank you so much for telling that. I'll do that.
It's probably triggering someone's OCD or something.
Maybe, but yeah, I think that's important. So I'm having this link here which you guys can check out, and it's a public repo, so I believe you would be able to use that. So you can just clone this starter project from here, and you can start working with us from here itself. So as somebody said that we need to organize the code. So what you can do is you can start making some folders specifying what kind of view it is. So I'll first go with new group from selection. I'll name it view only. Okay. And I can include the FaceTime view and the context list view inside that. The other one is a cell. So let's name it cell only. So let's name it cell, and we can also put it inside the view because it is obviously a view itself. The other one is the user model. So let's name it model. Okay, so I hope that we are good with the organized part as well. We have organized these files. Now let's write some real code inside that so that we actually can see something of this sort, which we can see here in the right? So for that, I'll be just using the starter project that I just shared with you guys. You can also use that. It is right here in the comment section. Please find that and start working on the same. So there's this FaceTime clone. Okay. So I have one more similar kind of project here, as you guys can see. So there you would find that I again have certain cell, certain views, naming in the same way. I think I am just using the same project that I just opened. Just give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. So you can find out here that we have two projects which look similar, but yeah, the only difference is that those that other project has some code inside that, which is actually producing that view which I shared with you guys on the simulator. So for the very first view that we have as a parent view, I can show it here like this. We are calling this as a parent view. For this, we have this certain code inside which you can see that we have the body, right? Body for our Swift UI view, inside which we have created a navigation view first. Then we have made a list because we are having a list here, and inside that list we have reused one cell, and that cell is called contact list cell. You can see that as well. And when you click on a certain cell, you are navigated to a certain view, which you can see here. Like I've written navigation link, destination is FaceTime view, and the cell there that you're tapping on is called contact list cell. Okay, so let's first make the base first, which is called the cell. Let's go with the downmost layer, then go to the topmost. So let's start with making the cell. Okay, so I'll just go here and open the cell code, inside which we have a user model which we are using, inside which we have a body, inside which we have made these arrangements for the view, which you can see on the simulator. We have an image, we have a title, and we have also given some formatting to it, like we have made the title bold and whatnot. So let's take something from here and just reuse this. Okay, so we have come back to this. In the cell, we are just going to replace this text hello world with our code. You can just get rid of these previews because like on Xcode, you are familiar that the previews doesn't work that great. So let's get rid of that. Now it's giving us an error which says cannot find user in a scope, which is like obvious. We haven't made any object called user yet, so why we are using it? So let's make that object, And to make that object, we have to make a model, which we just defined here. Like we have a user model. So let's make that model, then use it in the contact cell. Okay. Again, I'm saying, guys, if I'm going a little bit fast, then you can let me know in the comments. I'll slow down. Okay, you can also write. I am looking at the comments right now.
Yeah, I'm constantly looking at the comments. I'll let you know if someone says
Okay.
anything.
Kushal says fine, so let's go with that. Okay, guys.
All right.
So back to the project. We have to have a user model which we can use inside a cell. So I'll go to the model. Inside the user model, we have a ID, a image, and a name. Because we don't really need too much data. It's just a dummy user which we need to use to make calls. Okay. So I'll go back to my cell in my main project, and inside the cell I need to use this, but I need to first create the model. So let's first create the model. Okay, now we have the model which has a ID. Okay, it needs to conform to this protocol called identifiable. That's why we have an ID, and which is of type UUID, which is unique. We have an image, we have a name as well, which you can clearly see on this view. Okay, now we need to use this certain model inside our contact cell. So the way that we have used it inside our contact cell is given over here. I'll come back to this. You can see that we have created an object called user of type user model, which we have just defined. It includes an ID, it includes an image as well as a name. Okay, so we will be using this user, and we need to show that user's image on the image, and we need to show its name on the text. So let's do that. Just have to make this object because we are already using it in our cell. So let's go back to our project. Let's include the user. What did I just write? Okay. Okay, so we are good till here. You can see that the warning have gone. Like it was not just a warning, it was an error basically. So that error has gone, and now you can see that things are looking good. As far as the contact cell is concerned, we have an image in which we are using the user image, which we will provide just some dummy data. We will give it to it, then we can use it. We have a text as well, which you can find here along with the image inside a HStack. HStack is like a landscape one, so you can see this in this manner. All right, let's go back to the next part of the project, which is to make the complete parent cell now, because now we have made the basic layer of it, which is this cell. Now use this cell in the parent view, which we are calling here as contact list view. So currently our contact list view doesn't have really anything. It just has this text called hello world by default, which you can see. So let's remove that, and let me show you what we need to include in that. So there we are going to contact list view. You can find here that we have created a contacts array of type user model, and we have used some dummy data inside that. For image, you need to have an image first of all in the assets. That's how you would be able to use it. For the name, you can give it anything. I have just named it Crystal. You can name it whatever you want. Like there are so many names in this word, so you can use that. In the body, you would find that we have a navigation view. This navigation view, which you can see here clearly, and inside the navigation view, as I just said before, we have a list, and within that list we are using contact cell. So let's use this code inside our view. Okay, there we go. Now we have just written the body part of our contact view, of our contact list view. Now it shows some error to us that so let's resolve those errors. It asks us that where is this contact. First of all, we are using a contacts array inside the list, so we need to define that. And it also asking us like how are you using this FaceTime view and everything. So let's resolve these things by actually first of all declaring this object called contacts. So let's do that. Okay, so let's just copy this from here and coming back to our main project, paste it. you would find that the errors have gone. Please go away. It takes some time.
The only error that is not going to go away is the FaceTime view, which has not been
Yeah.
created yet.
Yeah. So yeah, because we haven't yet really created anything inside FaceTime view. But Jared, since we already have the FaceTime view like we have at least a basic view inside here, so it must not give an error to us.
Oh, I think you might have spelt it incorrectly.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, the
Let
T
me
is
see.
capitalized
the
in
T
your
is,
object.
yeah,
There
true
it
that.
is. It's always
Yeah,
the
there you-
spelling that gets you.
The typos that we call it. So yeah, please be aware about the typos. Again, with the contact list cell, you can see we have named it contact cell. So let's remove the list from here. It's called contact cell. And your errors have finally gone. You can see. So let's run this project, command plus R, and see what we have made so far. Okay, it need to
I think you
register
want to
device.
switch
You
to
can,
simulate.
yeah. So guys, if you're making a new project, please select your simulator first of all, then try to run it.
It's an important step.
Yes.
But we all make this mistake.
Okay.
Especially
so
now that there's like 20 simulators. So
True. So we have an error here which says content view. Okay. So in the in our very first struct, which asks us to provide the window group, which is basically the very first view that opens up when you try to open a Swift UI application. So here we haven't changed the name from content view to something else because we changed our content view's name as contact list view, right? So let's name it contact list view rather than content view. Let's run this again and see what happens. There you go. You have, takes time for the very first time, so please be patient. Okay, so we have these cells, but you can see that we don't have the image because we haven't actually added any image in our assets. So let's do that as well. So we can find the image, which is right here on my desktop itself. Let's first of all open the assets of our main project, which is somewhat confusing right now. So yeah, it is here, and you can see there's a lot of things going on this window. So I'm just going to include one image called girl. You can use any image. I'm using this one. So let's try to run this again and see if that works perfectly or not. Okay, there you see that it is working fine now. You have this view which has this navigation, which has this cell called contact cell. Inside that cell you have this image, this text, and whenever you try to click on this cell, you would be redirected to FaceTime view. So currently we haven't actually made anything inside FaceTime view. So when I try to click on this, you would find this very initial thing which happens when you try to create a new Swift UI view, which includes this text called hello world. Okay, so we will be changing that going forward. So we have come this far till now. So guys, if you have any doubts here, please write that. Otherwise, let's move forward. Move on. Okay. Clear. Okay, great. So we can proceed ahead. So the next thing that we have to do, obviously, you can see that we don't really have anything inside our FaceTime view. So let's make that FaceTime view as well. So for that, I'll again go back to our starter project in which I have already written the FaceTime view. So you would find here that you again have a body which has a view, and inside that body I have made this object called video options, which is again of type view, which returns a view. And why we have done that? Because like it looks cleaner. If you are going to add some code inside this body itself, it is also fine, you can do that. But if you try to break up your code in certain chunks, then it really looks good and also helps you to understand the code in a much faster way. So I think efficiency is the king as far as these kind of things are concerned. So better try to practice these things in your code as well. So yes, you can find that in the video options, we have a H stack. And inside this H stack, we have 3 buttons, because on a FaceTime call, we are currently assuming that we are having 3 buttons First of all, we have a video capturing button which you can stop the video if you want to. The second one is to end the call. So when you tap on that button, you can end the call. The third one is to you can mute yourself using that button. So the names itself define that. I have been using these images from the SF symbols. You can also use them. And yeah, we have 3 images in a H stack. Okay, and all these 3 images are going to have a certain actions, because these images are not just moving freely inside this H stack. These images are included inside the buttons. You can see we have defined a button. Inside that button's content, we have an image. Okay, so we need to define an action for these buttons, which we'll do later. But first of all, let's make this view at least. So let's take this from here again, and we can go back to our main project and include that in the FaceTime view right here. Okay, so now we have the video options, but currently we don't really have these 2 objects called video is showing, which we will be using to switch between these actions, and the other one is called is muted. So let's also define them. So let's go back to our starter project and define these 2 things. You can see here that we have these 2 objects called is muted. It has some default value which is false, and video is showing, because video would be showing from the very beginning. It's your choice if you want to stop it, or you can switch it to some other state. So we have copied that. Let's put it here. Okay, great. You would find that the errors have gone, but you haven't really used this video options anywhere yet, because you need to use this inside the body. So let's do that. Just to take this and go back to this and include this inside your body. I have added one spacer here, because if you would not add this spacer, you would find that these 3 buttons are not at the exact position where we actually want them. So if I don't use the spacer, let me show you how it looks like. Okay, so it looks like that they are moving around in between this view, but we actually want to push them a little down, so that's why we have added a spacer. And we have also given it some padding from the bottom, which is 10 points. So yeah, it looks something like this. Now let's try to run this again and see how it looks like. Let's tap on any one of these. Yeah, we have it at the ideal position, I believe. So from here, we can take things forward. We can include the 100ms SDK to start off with the video streaming part. So yes, guys, this was all about the UI of this clone. And the next step would be to moving on towards integrating the 100ms SDK. So if you guys have any doubts so far, then please write them down here in the comments. We can take them right away. Otherwise, we will move ahead with the implementation of the SDK. Go on, Ashwani says. Proceed. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, great, guys. So from here, Jared would be integrating the 100ms SDK, which will allow us to actually have a video streaming inside this application. So Jared, over to you.
Awesome. If you wouldn't mind not sharing your screen. There we go. Okay. So essentially, yeah, we are picking up where we were last left off. So now we have essentially the contact list view, the FaceTime view, all of that's been created. Now we actually need to add some functionality to it. So in order to do so, we're going to go ahead and import the 100ms iOS SDK. Now you can find that here. I will put the link in the chat if you want to go check it out. But I have it here. So we're going to go ahead and say Xcode, or sorry, file, add packages, and then we're going to add the 100ms iOS SDK. So once we add that package, it's going to take a minute, but essentially we're pulling in this iOS SDK, which helps the process of, actually implementing 100ms a whole lot simpler. They have pre-built UI functionality, such as like the video view. That way you don't have to actually create like a streaming video all by yourself using AV Foundation or something like that. They have something that you can basically plug in into your application and play. And then, yeah, essentially we can join a room. The only things that we need to note here are we don't have all the functionality of 100ms inside of the iOS SDK. For instance, we can't do certain things such as creating a room or anything that, it could be a breach of security in a sense. So for a lot of other projects, we might need to actually work on like creating a Heroku server or something, some server of some sort that can then call using secret keys and tokens from 100ms to actually call to 100ms and then push back to your application. We will encourage all of you to actually, take this one step further perhaps. And when you click on a name, you create a room and then you join that room, and then the other person is then called at that point to get a notification, and then they join the room that you just created. But in this case, we're using pretty static variables because we just don't want to take up everyone's time in doing things. So we're going to basically be joining a static room and creating it from 100ms's website. Sorry, you had something to say, Mike?
No, I was just saying that there's always some scope to explore something more into the same, what we try to do, right? So we are leaving that scope for the audiences. So if you want to try out some more things into the same, which we are trying to make here, then please go ahead. And if you have any kind of doubts or something, you can join the Discord community of 100ms and we would be able to reply back to you there.
Very awesome. So now that we have the HMS SDK in here, HMS stands for 100ms, of course. We're actually going to be using some of this code. So first and foremost, we're going to create what I call the video view. So instead of our views here, we're going to say new file, and then we're going to call this the video view file. Then in order to implement the video view file, we're essentially creating, one second, let me pull this up here. We're creating a UI view representable. So if we say struct video view :UI view representable. Then inside of here, we're going to say func make UI view, in which the view that we want it to return is something from 100ms. So we're going to import the HMS SDK. And then we're going to want this to return an HMS video view, like so. And then inside of here, we're going to say let our video view equal, and this is going to be an HMS video view. And then inside of here, we can basically say, okay, what do we need when we create an HMS video view? We want there to be a video for that view to show, or what they call a track. And so we're going to say video view dot set video track, and then we need to provide it a track. So in order to provide it a track, we're going to go ahead and say var track :HMS video track. So inside of here, we go ahead and plug in the track. Then after that, we're going to say video view dot background color will be equal to a UI color dot black. Now this is just for appearance sake, but I like it. And we're going to say return our video view. Then inside of here, we're going to also have an update UI view. So anytime the track changes or something happens to the track, we're going to go ahead and say video view. Or where is that? It actually should be, this should be video view of the type of HMS video view. Oh, and then here, I guess we remove the sum. That is important to note. Okay. So this is where we say video view dot set video track, in which we give it the track. So let's see if that throws any errors. It looks like we're okay. Sweet.
Nice.
There we go. And then essentially, now we want to use this video view inside of here. So as Mayank did, we have a spacer, we have the video options, then we have a padding at the bottom. So I'm going to actually take out the spacer. We're going to say a Z stack now. And then we're going to make this Z stack just push items to the bottom. So that's what the alignment.bottom means, in which we're going to have a video view of a track, and then we also need to set like the tracks that we're actually going to show, right? So in order to have the tracks that we are going to show, we're going to have essentially like our local track and let's say a friend track or whoever we are talking to in that case. So I can say at state var local track will be equal to, let's say, an HMS video track. Hang on, I need to import the HMS SDK. That's an important step. We'll make it an HMS video track, and then we also need an at state var friend track equal an HMS video track as well. So within here, I want, of course, my friend track to be the most prominent view. So this one's going to be, let's say, our friend track up here. And then in front of our friend track, we're going to add our local track. So for the local track, we're going to make this a little bit smaller. So let's give it like a width and a height of like 250. So like width of 150, height of 250. And then with alignment of center. You can always play around with this as you want, but this looks good to me. So from here on, we can say dot padding, and then we can mess with how this looks in a little bit once we actually start building and running this project. Now, the other thing that we need to do is apply this. We need to apply the HMS SDK to the FaceTime view itself so that we can listen for anything that comes back from 100ms. So in order to do so, we're going to add a view model. So in order to add the view model, we're just going to say, just all the way down here, we're going to say extension, our FaceTime view, in which we're going to be adding a class. This will be of our view model. And then this is going to be an observable object. And then also we'll call this HMS update listener. Then from here, we can go inside of here. This is going to throw an error just now in which we need to autofill all of the different functions that can come back from the HMS update listener. So let's say if I join the room, this gets called. If someone else joins the room or something like that, if a peer joins the room, so on and so forth. We can look into these a lot later. We won't be using too many of these functions, but they are here if you need them. The only one that we are going to be personally using is this one called on track. So in the case that, say, a track is added or someone joins the room, that's when we are going to update our track view or our friend track in that case. So for this one, we're going to say, I'm going to just copy and paste the code right now, in which we say switch update case.track added. Then we want to add a video view. And then if there's a track removed, then we want to remove a video view. Now, what are these that we're calling? So these are some completion or escaping completion variables that we can just place right up here. If I don't delete the code. If I can put that right up here, we say at published var add video view, and then at published var remove video view. So we are essentially calling this, which calls to this, which then we can listen to inside of here. So this is important so that this is just how a lot of like Swift UI works, because you can't call directly from, say, the view model directly to the view itself. We need to create essentially like a listener. Anytime something changes inside of the observable object, we need to listen for those changes. So we can go ahead and do so by just creating a new function here called listen. And inside of listen, we're going to essentially listen for any time those at published variables are called. So let me just grab these right here, in which we say self.viewModel.add video view. So in the case that we add the video view, we have the track. Oh, and we don't declare the view model, so we need to do that real quick. So that's going to be at state var view model, in which this is going to be a view model. So we're essentially just creating an object that can be listened to and modified, which calls to this extension class that we just created here. There we go. And then last but not least, there's this last part that we have. So in the case that a video view is added, then we want to go ahead and essentially start everything up. And in order to do that, we're going to say var HMS SDK will be equal to HMS SDK.build. And let me see if that throws an error. Nope, everything seems to be good. So now we have HMS SDK. Okay, so let's look at this for a second. So we have func listen, or one second here. Yeah, so in the case that we start listening, that we get a video view and we actually join the room correctly, then we're going to basically say for our local self, we want to say our mute is set to false already, meaning we are talking. And then we also want to start capturing video. So once we start capturing video, it's going to publish that to 100ms and your friend can see it and everyone can see it properly. Then we also have the local track, which we just set to the local video track. Now it throws this warning. It says a forced cast to something, and I honestly don't know why it does this, because if I do that, then it throws an error. So we're gonna just have to deal with a warning. But that's how that works. And then we also have self.friend track will be equal to the track that is returned when we added it. So there we go. So we have our local track being added to the local track, and then we have our friend track. Now, anytime that, say, the video is removed, then we know that the track that comes back is going to be our friend track. Otherwise, it's our local track. So in this case, we just remove, the new track. I hope that kind of makes sense to everyone. Does anyone have any questions there? Because I can elaborate more if need be. All right. Good. All good. Nice. Okay. We will have a Q&A after this. So if you have any questions afterwards, please save them, and then we will be happy to answer them later as well. Okay. So now that we have these, we also need to finally join the room. So we're going to have a function that just says join room. Now, in order to do this, we need to join a certain room. And the way that I have this set up is there is a, how do we explain this? So inside of the finished product that we're going to be sending out to everyone, but also inside of Clubhouse's iOS SDK and a lot more other stuff that they have already created, 100ms has already created, there's a file called a token provider. And that's what we're going to be using to essentially build a token to which we can join the room with. It's a long file, so I'm not going to type it out for everyone here. So in order to do this, let's create a new file, or a new folder real quick. We'll call this the controllers file, in which we're going to say new file. We'll make this token provider. And then we're going to paste it. Okay, so essentially what the token provider does here is we need a token endpoint and a room ID. And so I'll show you how to get these token endpoint and the room ID for your own application. But essentially, all we're going to be using really is this get token, which uses basically everything else inside of this function to get a token for our current room that we are joining. So if we go back here, we're going to go ahead and start joining the room. So in order to join the room, we're going to say token provider. Actually, give me 1 second. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and we need a first. Sorry, what?
It's going to get the token first using our room ID.
Exactly, yes. So first off, I need to say let token provider equal token provider. And now we can start using that inside of our project. So I should be able to say inside of join room, we say token provider dot get token for, and then in this case, our for is going to be for the room that we want to join. And then the role is going to be what kind of role we want to join in as. And I'll elaborate on this right now. And I'll elaborate on this in just a second, actually. But in this case, like we want this to return a token, and then we want to, if there's an error, we can return an error. Then we can say if let error equal error, and we can deal with that error. Otherwise, if there's no error returned, then we're going to go ahead and configure our HMS SDK correctly. So we can say let config equal HMS config, open parentheses, in which we want to provide it with the token that we just grabbed. And if there was no token, then we can say like if let token equal token, then we could do this. Now there's probably a cleaner way to write that, but we can worry about that later. And then we want to say HMS SDK.join with the config. And then our delegate will be equal to self.viewModel. So once we join, we're going to join with a certain token that we're going to be grabbing from here, from within our token provider. And then we just need to provide it with a room ID, a role, and then also a token endpoint. Then we also have the delegate, which is going to be our self.viewModel. So if there's anything that changes inside of our HMS SDK, it's going to happen here. Okay. So now let's actually figure out how to grab, the room ID, how to actually get that kind of the token endpoint and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go ahead to 100ms.live. We're going to try it for free. We're going to log in. And then inside of here, I already have an account, so I'm going to sign in with Google. And then essentially you'll go through a process of creating an application. So for right now, I have a video conferencing application already created, but if you don't, you would go to add an application, give it a name, choose a template in which the template that we are using is the video conferencing template. And if we go into the templates, you'll see that there are certain roles. So we have, say, a host role who can share audio, who can do everything essentially. And then you also have a guest who I turned off everything on. And then that's essentially how, I guess, roles are set up inside of 100ms. And then you have like template IDs and names and all that kind of stuff as well. But in this case, we won't be worrying about those at the moment. But this is helpful when you are actually creating a room in the future. But for this case, we can go ahead and say, okay, our role is going to be host, because we want both sides. We want, if our friend answers the phone, they can end the call, or if I am the caller, then I can end the call. We both have that type of functionality to end, the call. And we also have more functionality, if we want to share a screen in the future or something like that, they can do that as well.
Like we can take the current example that we are currently doing. So if you are live on the 100ms link, then you would find that you are watching this session as a viewer, right? So that's a role that is defined. And in the same manner, Jared and I have joined it as the host of this particular session. So we have a lot of other functionalities at our hand which we can play with. Whereas as a viewer, you have certain limitations to that. So you can figure out these kind of roles on that panel.
Exactly. Thank you. And then now we're going to go ahead and create a room. So in order to create a room, we're going to go to Rooms, create a room, and then you choose the template that you're going to use, and then give it a room name. So for this one, I'll call this 100ms Live. And then if you want to record this room, you can do so, but you have to, or let me see. I believe I need to look into this further from them. If someone is in the chat that can answer this, that'd be great. But I believe if you want to record it to your own, say, how do you say it? Like Amazon service, your own little hard drive, I guess, you can record it to that section.
Are you
I
trying to
believe so.
say that you can save it to your S3 bucket or something?
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, I'm sorry. But yeah, you can save it to an S3 bucket for that case. And so if you notice, like Clubhouse, they just came out with recording their latest audio sessions and whatnot. So that, you could add that type of functionality into the application if you use this method as well. So that's something important to note. But in our case, we're going to just not record this room. We're going to create this room. And then once you create a room, we have a room ID that's returned, to which we can take that room ID and we can plug it in to here where we get the token. And then we also need to plug it into here as well. Then for the token endpoint, you would go to the developer page, in which we have app secret. This is important for the server. We have app access key, email, customer ID, app ID, and token endpoint. So we're going to take the token endpoint, but some of this other stuff will be important when creating services or servers to work with 100ms as well. So once we have that, we can put in our token endpoint, and we should be good to go in terms of getting our token and placing that token, configuring our HMS, 100ms configuration. And I believe we should be good to go in terms of actually building and running for this website. So I'm going to go ahead and let me see. So I'm going to send this. Okay, yeah. So if I want Mayank to join this room as well, I can send him over the link right now. And so I'm going to just do this via WhatsApp real quick. This is definitely not the cleanest solution, like I said. If you want to take this further and actually make it so they don't have to, use their own link and whatnot, you can do that. But in our case, just for demonstration purposes, this also works. So let me know when you have joined that room. And I'm going to go ahead and build and run this application. And let's see if we get any issues or errors coming through as well. Okay, so first issue is we need to say our FaceTime view, and then we need to configure our view model that's coming through as well. So if I build and run this, we have that, in which the FaceTime view, we're going to say our view model will be equal to .init. And then something else that I just realized that I forgot is that we need to go over here into our info.plist as well and edit a few things. So the first thing is we need to ask for camera usage descriptions, and we also need to ask for access to actually do these things. So 100ms, they have a quick start guide on how to do this, which I will just follow real quick. So if we look here, the key is going to be NS camera usage description, the NS local network usage description, and we can plug that right into here. So that's our privacy usage description, and then we can say our camera usage will be, for live streaming or something like that. You would actually want to explain pretty well to your users why you want to have their camera usage. Just so everyone knows why. And then we also need the local network usage description. In our case, I'm just going to say for live streaming again. And then lastly, the NS microphone usage description as well. So as soon as you try to join with your microphone, you should be able to do that as well. And adding this in here will actually add the prompt inside of the application itself. So you'll see that when I'm actually joining via the application, it'll actually say, hey, do you want to use your camera? Is it okay for us to use your microphone? And so on. So if I were to build and run this, let me see, there's a couple more errors. I need to have an account because I'm running on my iPhone. 1 second. So in order to do that, I got to go to sign-in capabilities. Let's join. Do that. And build and run. Are you in the room, Mayank?
Yes, I'm already there.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and open up QuickTime just so that I can show my, not me, I want to show the my iPhone. Also, for those who didn't know how to do this, you can do that. I know. So now that I have that open, I can go ahead, once again, build and run this, just to be sure. And we should be good to go in terms of building our application. So here's our FaceTime clone. If I click on this, we should be pulling it up where Mayank should be joining, and then myself should be joining as well. Hang on a second, I just thought about something. I created those functions, but I didn't implement them. That is important. So let's go back to our view real quick. We got to go to the FaceTime view. And then in order to use those functions, we just need to say on appear or something. We're going to say on appear. We're actually going to listen, and we're going to join the room. Okay. And now we should be working well. So I join. We should be connecting to our video views. And as you can see, it's asking for my microphone access as well as my camera access. And there's my ink, and there I am, as you can see. And let's see, is the audio working in terms of this? I believe so. Can you talk?
It works.
There we are. So that's awesome. I can also mute. Actually, we didn't implement the functions for the mute button yet, so we can work on that right now. But there you have it. I can also work on a little bit of a placement here because as you can see, that's kind of a bad placement. So let's do that where we have the alignment to be bottom trailing here. And then for the local track, I'm going to say the padding for the bottom is just going to be plus 100 or something like that. And that way, it's not as horrendous and it doesn't go behind the buttons. And so if I join again, we should be a little bit better. Yeah, as you can see, I'm avoiding the buttons now, and I think we're looking a bit better. Nice. Mike's not in the room at the moment, so that's fine. Oh, there he is again. He's back. Anyway, so now the next thing that I need to do is actually mute and stop the cameras as well. So in order to do that, it's actually fairly simple. So again, 100ms, they have the inside of their SDK, just a quick function for all of this, really. So I'm going to go ahead and say func mute mic. I'm going to say func end room. And then I'm going to also create a function to mute camera. So first we need to say if is muted, then we're going to do this. Otherwise, we're going to do something else. And then we're also going to, just for end room here, we would just say 100ms SDK dot end room. The lock, we can go ahead and say, let's say that this is false. The reason for that we're going to be closing it, we'll just say meeting has ended. And then for the bool, we'll say did end. And then if there was an error, then we'll throw an error. So if let error equal error, then we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do that. So if there was an error, then we want to display that to the user. Right now, we're not going to worry about that. But in the future, if you actually have an error, then you want to do that. I don't want a capital error there. But in our case, if we actually do add the room, then we want to go back, right? We don't want to be inside of the FaceTime view anymore. So we're going to say at environment, in which we're going to access the pre-built presentation mode. And then we'll call this var presentation mode. And now, in order to go back inside of our application, we can say presentation mode .wrappedValue.dismiss. So in the case that we end the room, we're actually going to just dismiss the view now. And then we also need, okay, so back to mute microphone. We want to basically say, if we're muted, then we're going to say self.hmssdk.localpeer, in which we're going to access our local audio track, and then we're going to say .setMute. In the case, we're going to say true. Otherwise, if it's not mute, then we can go ahead and say this is equal to false. And then we say self.ismuted.toggle. Now, I just thought about this, but we could probably make this a little bit simpler by just saying .setMute equal to that, in which we just say is muted. I think that makes sense. But or I guess we want to toggle and then change it. There you go. And then for mute camera, it's more or less the same sort of deal, in which we're going to say self.hmssdk.local video track, and then we're going to stop capturing. Again, we can't use, I guess, the true or false in this case, so we're going to have to go and say if video is showing, otherwise we're going to do that. So if the video is showing, then we're going to stop, otherwise we are going to start capturing. And then we can say video is showing .toggle, in which that just switches back and forth between false and true. Okay, so if we were to build and run, oh wait, hang on, we need to attach these functions to the buttons now. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and say mute microphone. For the phone, we're going to say end room. And for this top one, we're going to say mute camera. Now, if we were to build and run this, we should be able to actually join the room now. And if I mute, I should be muted. And then if I want to stop sharing, then I'd stop sharing video like that. And there you go. And it stops sharing the video. Right now it pauses. Again, you can add a little thing if you want, such as like a placeholder. That way, you know, if you're not capturing audio or video, you don't want to have like a still frame like this. That's where you say, oh, we're not wanting to capture video anymore. So therefore, you know, we just want to show, you know, a certain placeholder for the time being. Does this support only one-on-one video call? No, this so it definitely supports multi-people video call as well. This software is what we're using for this conference. I believe we can support up to, I think, 200 people within the same room. So you can definitely use quite a bit of people inside of the same room. But in our case, we wanted to keep it simple. So yeah, we're just keeping it one-on-one for the time being. And then just for one last thing, just to make this look a tad bit better, this is my OCD talking. I'm just going to say .edges, ignoring safe area. We're going to say all. And then inside of here, I'm also going to say .corner radius, say 10. And then .shadow, we'll also say like 10. That way it just looks a tad bit better. We can probably make that go down slightly as well. But if I were to join again, we should be able to see that, you know, the video looks a little bit better. It's curved at the moment. It looks a little bit more FaceTime-like, right? And then accidentally went into horizontal, but there you go. Anyway, that is basically our sample project that we wanted to show you guys today. Now it is time for the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions or if you have any comments or, you know, remarks, please let us know in the comment section and we will be sure to get back to you.
I think Ashwani has one question, Jared. He's
Sure.
asking that, can we use this call kit?
Okay. Can we use this with call kit? Yes. In fact, we thought about one thing as well. So now when you exit the application, you know, it stops the audio. So you can go into I believe it's the capabilities and then background modes. You can say audio AirPlay and picture, and that fixes things. You can work on picture right now. Like I don't know. Nile, do you know if picture works with the built-in video view, or should we work on our own? Or if anyone can answer that question for me. But in that case, I don't know about picture, but in terms of like background audio, call kit, I believe we can. Yeah, you can totally get that working with this application.
Harsh Verma is also having this question.
Yeah.
In this current code snippet, if someone else wants to join, would it work?
In terms of like multiple people joining the same room?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. More or less. So the way that I would do it, and I believe they actually do have a sample project that you can use from 100ms to do this. But you can go inside of, let's say, our FaceTime view here. And anytime someone, say, joins the room, instead of, having, just a friend track and, my track, you can also just have an array of tracks and then build your view off of that array of tracks. And if a track is removed, then you go and remove that specific track. So that's how I would do it. Questions strictly to this demo or 100ms altogether? Whatever your heart desires. What differences makes it better from Agora?
Make it better from? Yeah.
Let me see. After using both of them, like I said, documentation wise, I think 100ms is way better in that aspect. Personally, I think I got very lost using Agora.io. So I have used it in the past. It did work well, but I think I prefer 100ms to it. I see 100ms offers built-in chat. What type of moderation is offered? How many viewers can one streamer have at a time? Okay, good question here. So let me see. It offers built-in chat. And so essentially, like we were talking about before, you can actually go to, say, your templates. You have your different roles, and then you can add a role, say, as a moderator, and in which they can change any participant's role. They can mute any participant, remove someone from the room, or something like that can happen as well. So that's what essentially a mod can do if you want to create a role for that specifically. Right now, Nile is in the backstage, and he's probably monitoring people as well, probably removing if there's any rowdy people, but stuff like that can happen as well. And then how many viewers can one streamer have at a time? I believe.
Yeah, I'll take that. So yeah, that is very much well defined in the page that we have attached in the link. It's Agora versus 100ms. So you can get all of the informations except rather than just viewer, and also do visit the link.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So HMS versus Agora, that is the link from 100ms.
Yeah, it's 10,000.
Okay. 10,000 viewers can be supported at one time?
Yep.
Okay.
Will be join audio. Great. Please, people, ask questions, and if you would like, we will be glad to invite you on stage and have one-on-one with Jared and Mayank also. So if you're able to do that. Noted, Rob.
She wants to be able to host live streams built into the app and have control over the chat.
Great, Rob. We will surely reach out to you regarding this, and yeah, we'll surely help you out.
Yeah, they do actually have, I guess, a pre-built template called virtual events that should have essentially what we're doing right now, where you can have the viewer, the stage, and the backstage as well.
Yeah. That's what we are currently using also.
Yes.
And you can live stream to LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, anywhere. Great. Any more questions?
Nila, can you please just ping the Discord community link here, because If somebody really wants to work on some kind of idea related to video streaming, then you guys can directly connect with the 100ms team itself, and you can ask out your doubts there. If that is like more core.
Yep. So this is our Discord link. Get back to us with any questions you have, or and do let us know what you're building with 100ms next.
Mm-hmm. And you said is that all included with the 10,000 minutes per month for free? I believe so, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the video codec difference between HD and SD plans? Okay. Rob, you can.
This is a great workshop. Okay.
Yeah, Pratik.
Hey,
great.
Love to hear it.
Thanks, Alan.
VP8 and Opus. Are those different types of video codecs, I assume? Okay.
VP8 is for video. Opus is
and Opus for audio. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Any more question, people? Please ask them.
So why the different price platform? What's the difference between HD and SD? So let me see. so I mean, the difference between HD and SD is essentially they're just the different resolutions, right? So you can have 360p or using the same video or audio codec, sure, but they're only going to come in at a certain resolution. So HD would, of course, be like, I think it's 720p and up, right?
Yep.
Okay.
AK says, awesome workshop, kind of amazed with screen share video quality so crisp.
Kudos to 100ms SDK for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can also thank my internet. I just got new internet, so I'm very happy with it. HD is 720p and up. Yeah. Will there be any future live
streams like this?
There would be, Harsh. There would be, and we will definitely let you know at least 1 week before, so that you can plan your day out and keep your questions ready.
And where can people keep up on the live streams, like when they will happen?
We generally, whenever the live stream happens, we send out a mail, a reminder. So yeah, we'll keep you notified.
Right.
Nice.
Oh yeah, resolution is configurable in the dashboard as well as just like the roles. Yes, exactly. So if they can share video, you can set the video quality that they want to share here as well. So you can have different video quality for, the stage or the viewer or a host or whatnot as well. So in the case of like you want, in the case that you want like, a live platform or something, if you want, one person to be 1080p and then the rest of them can be like, 120p or whatever you want. That'll look terrible, but
why would somebody want that?
I don't know. I guess you cut down a little bit on costs or something, but that's one way of doing it.
Lovely. Any more questions, people? Yes, no.
Guys, can you please just respond with a yes or no? Okay, no.
Nope.
Bro.
One last one.
One
All right.
last one.
Where is it?
Please go ahead.
Thank you,
Right,
Ray.
thanks.
Thanks for watching.
Need help in coding spelling Swift? Best place to ask.
If it's around 100 ms, like 100 ms for iOS and all, I'll just resend again the Discord link. Discord is the invitation link, and you can ask whatever. Our entire team is there to help you each day, each minute. And yeah, apart from just for Swift, and also we have co-founders of Archetype and Swift anytime. So obviously you can reach out to them too.
Oh yeah. If you haven't looked at my video, I made Twitch using 100ms in 24 hours, and that was a fun project to do. In which I create a room within the project, I share it to people, and people can watch things as they go on. I found a pretty fun project. I would like to bring it more to the desktop as well. I made it specifically for like the iPhone, but making it for the desktop where people can like actually screen share potentially, where they can actually make Twitch, that'd be great. But
I think I actually got a part of that stream.
yeah, sweet.
Great.
Twitch with real moderation and fair rules. I'm in. Nice. You just have to create your own like your system where you like actually pay people and whatnot, right? In that case, you could use, I think, Twitch or no, it's Discord. They're actually working into Web3, where they can actually use like Ethereum and Bitcoin to like send to people. So you could even like include that in your own Twitch streaming thing. But hey, that'd be fun.
Great, Rob. Thank you everyone for joining. The questions were great. The workshop was great. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Mayank. It was really, having this not one day, but the entire days that we were involved in doing this. It has been really amazing and a great learning for me also. Thank you.
Well,
thank you. Yeah, it's been a blast.
It was really great. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Have an awesome day, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Peace. Bye.